Welcome to the socials of 94.3 Radio 1 and yet another episode of Binge Watch. My name is Bhaarat, and in this series of ours, we talk about TV shows or movie series that you can either binge watch or have binge watched. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite movie trilogies, superhero movie trilogies that released in the early 2000s. It holds a special place in the hearts of many people who were born in the 90s and 2000s. The superhero movie trilogy that I'm talking about, in a way, redefined superhero movies. It also made it a profitable venture, and it was also one of the first Marvel superhero trilogies. Of course, after the Blade series and the X-Men series, I'm talking about Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man Trilogy, the OG Spider-Man Trilogy. We've had many iterations of it. We've had the Amazing Spider-Man Trilogy by Mark Webb, starring Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. We've had the Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man Trilogy, starring Tom Holland as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, of course. But I'll tell you in this episode of ours why I particularly really love and adore this trilogy, which is the Spider-Man Trilogy, the OG Spider-Man Trilogy. So while the first part of the trilogy, Spider-Man, shows the traditional origin of Peter Parker in college, living life with his aunt and uncle, and how he turns into Spider-Man after being bit by a radioactive spider and goes up against his best friend Harry Osborn's father, Norman Osborn, as Green Goblin. Spider-Man 2 shows him getting complete control over his powers, his relationship with Mary Jane, MJ, and him going up against his teacher, Dr. Otto Octavius, aka Doc Ock. Third part shows him go up against his friend Harry Osborn, Sandman, and Venom, embodying the Venom as well and turning into Venom for a bit, and also shows his trials and tribulations with Mary Jane and Harry Osborn, which was the third part and the final part of this trilogy. So while Spider-Man 1 opened to humongous box office success and made superhero movies cool again after the Batman series and the X-Men series and the Blade series, there were not that many superhero movies being made at that particular time, which is the early 2000s. There were a lot of people vying to make the Spider-Man trilogy. You had names like James Cameron and many prolific filmmakers who had their own version of Spider-Man that they wanted to start. At a moment of time, you also had Leonardo DiCaprio in Reckoning to play Spider-Man, but of course, Tobey Maguire, his close friend from childhood, ended up becoming Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire and Sam Raimi's trilogy is really special to me because I've watched it in many reruns throughout the course of my childhood. The relatability factor of Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man, growing up, wanting to grow academically, wanting to live up to his uncle and aunt, wanting to live up to the name that his parents left behind for him, and a lot many more things, and also his friendship with Harry Osborn, who's been his close associate and friend since childhood, his love for Mary Jane, and in the third part for Gwen Stacy. There were a lot of exciting moments in this trilogy that hold a near and dear place in my heart, and there are great emotional moments, there are great comedic moments, there are great action moments, and I think this particular superhero trilogy, despite all the MCUs and all the Dark Knight trilogies and all the incredible superhero movies that have come, this for me is the OG trilogy because this is the first superhero movie trilogy that I watched in my childhood. So here's why I love, but I'm going to talk about what I love more in my favorite segment, which is called My Favorite. Okay, time for my favorite segment. So what I really love about the Spider-Man trilogy is that it's high on emotion. There are a lot of emotions that are there throughout the trilogy. There's laughter, there's sadness, there's really wholesome moments, and there are moments of glory, there are moments of pride, there are moments of frustration. It's a holistic emotional journey, and the fact that Tobey Maguire essayed his role with so much of innocence. I don't know whether it's innocence or deliberate innocence, because that also goes on to show his acting chops that he's also shown in the other movies. But not to digress, I feel that the Spider-Man trilogy, OG Spider-Man trilogy, had some really rooted moments. That point where Spider-Man first discovers his powers after being bit by a radioactive spider and goes up on the roof and tries to take the webs out after crawling the wall for the first time. The moment in Spider-Man 2 after the train sequence where he's lying down in the train after saving it and stopping it from crashing, and everyone says that he's a hero and we're not going to reveal his identity. Careful, he's a hero, a very famous line that a lot of people use nowadays in the Gen Z meme culture, and also the moments that he has with Mary Jane. So I think it's high on emotion, and I think that's a brilliant aspect of the whole Spider-Man trilogy. Secondly, the background score by Danny Elfman and his team of musicians. I think the whole theme of Spider-Man is really, really electrifying, really nostalgic, has really a lot of undertones and a lot of shades. And my favorite part of all the Spider-Man movies, even the other new series, is that final swing that they have towards the end of every movie, where Spider-Man would just go on his own and go through the streets of New York, letting his webs out and completely just navigating through the city. So I think at those moments when the Spider-Man theme plays, it's really incredible. So performances and casting is something that I essentially love about the series. Like I mentioned, we have Tobey Maguire as a titular role of Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. Then you have Kirsten Dunst playing Mary Jane. Then you have James Franco playing Harry Osborn. And then you've got the great Willem Dafoe playing Green Goblin, or Norman Osborn, as many know. Then you have Rosemary Harris playing Spider-Man's Aunt May. Even the gentleman who played Uncle Ben, his role was incredible. You have in the second part, you've got Alfred Molina playing Otto Octavius, aka Doc Ock. And also you have Thomas Hayden Church playing Sandman in the third part. Even Topher Grace for the matter of fact, who played Venom in Spider-Man 3. This movie has been stacked with incredible people playing incredible characters, very well written characters, and I think all of them pulled it off. And I think Sam Raimi's style of direction is, it has such a great stamp on it. Of course, this is the guy who made the Evil Dead series. And of course, Sam Raimi is a guy who's made the iconic Evil Dead movies, and you had Bruce Campbell in the titular role, and he keeps doing these cameos in every movie, playing a different character, whether it's the announcer in the wrestling match, or whether it's the gentleman who's at the reception of the hotel, the usher in Spider-Man 2, or whether it's the guy who's at the who's looking after the restaurant in Spider-Man 3. And he's done cameos in even the Multiverse of Madness, which Sam Raimi directed, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. So I think the whole movie series is stacked with such great actors, essaying their roles, and that's what I really love about the Spider-Man movies. Number 4, I feel the whole movie series had such incredible action pieces. Whether it's the first, like I mentioned earlier, the first action sequence where you see Peter Parker climbing the walls for the first time and, trying to let his webs out in that funny sequence. Then also the final fight sequence in the first part of Spider-Man. My favorite fight sequence, and actually might be one of my favorite action pieces, is the train sequence in Spider-Man 2, where he goes up against Doc Ock. And they have this great fight where Spider-Man gets his powers back, masters his mind, understands it's all within him, he holds the power. And, then you have that scene of him going on that wall tower, and then that whole fight that leads to them both jumping on the train, fighting with each other. And, Spider-Man trying all his, using all his wits to stop the train, which is clearly overspeeding, and it has many people in it, and how Spider-Man saves the day. There are a lot of memes of Tobey Maguire looking really constipated when he's trying to stop it, but I think it's a great sequence, and I think it's one of the highlights of the whole Spider-Man trilogy. And my other favorite sequence is the sequence where you have in the third part, the climactic sequence in the third part, Spider-Man 3, where you have actually two, including Venom, where Peter Parker actually embodies Venom for the first time, and the symbiote comes on him, and he tries to get rid of it. And the third part, where he takes those metal rods and he places them circularly around, Topher Grace's character, and then he bangs them and he gets them out. So I think it has some great moments. And also the sequence in Spider-Man 3 where he rescues Gwen Stacy from that building, and when he's leading his webs out on those flying cement pieces, and figuring a way out to find her. So I think it has some great sequences, and my favorite are the Spider-Man swings that you have at the end of every movie, as many might call it Spidey swings. So I think I'm just really geeking out because I think these sequences hold such a special place in my heart. So that's point number 4 for you. Okay, so I just realized that I'm geeking out so much on this trilogy in particular, which is the Spider-Man trilogy, that I can just keep going on and on. So we're going to cut it to the people of Mumbai and ask them about the Spider-Man trilogy. So here goes.
I have to say it's MJ because I'm a big Zendaya fan, so yeah.
I think it was the recent one, Way Home, the one with all 3 Spider-Mans, where all 3 Peter Parker showed up.
My favorite Spider-Man movie has to be both. I can't choose between both the ones. that have Andrew Garfield in them, but Andrew Garfield is my favorite Spider-Man.
My favorite Spider-Man would be Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
I'm a big William Dafoe fan, so the Green Goblin.
Dr. Osborn.
I think my favorite villain is Electro. I think he's called, like, he has a very good character arc. We understand why he's a villain, so I really like fleshed out villains, so I think that one's my favorite.
Favorite villain in the Spider-Man trilogy is Green Goblin.
I think in Spider-Man No Way Home, where MJ falls off the building and Andrew Garfield's character is helping her, and then it goes back to the flashback of Emma Stone's character from the previous Spider-Man movie falling, and I really like that parallel.
So there's this one scene where they all recreated the meme where they were all like pointing at each other on the, I think was it the Empire State Building? Not Empire, the Statue of Liberty, where they were all pointing at each other. That was really nice. Also, where they were talking about their different webs. So they were really surprised that the original Peter Parker could produce webs. So that whole conversation was really funny.
I think my favorite moment has to be the one from the latest movie from No Way Home, where all three of them, like, okay, that was everyone's favorite moment, and that is my favorite moment also.
Is when Andrew Garfield saves MJ from MCU.
Okay, so that was the people of Mumbai giving their opinion on what's their favorite moment, what's their favorite character from the Spider-Man trilogy. What I really love about the original Spider-Man trilogy and what Spider-Man No Way Home did is that you had so many iterations, and I think Andrew Garfield's iteration in the Amazing Spider-Man movies directed by Mark Webb was phenomenal, and I think he got such a new touch to the already iconic Peter Parker iteration by Tobey Maguire, and also Tom Holland's iteration of Spider-Man in the MCU finally with all the other Marvel characters. But the beauty of Spider-Man No Way Home, the third part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe Spider-Man movies, is that you had a closure to all these character arcs, because Spider-Man 3 was supposed to have a Spider-Man 4, the original trilogy, which for reasons didn't happen, and then you had the Amazing Spider-Man movies. The Amazing Spider-Man movies were supposed to have many more movies, but that didn't happen, and then you had the Spider-Man MCU trilogy. So I think Spider-Man No Way Home actually gave closure to all these trilogies, and it was so amazing to see both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire walk out of those portals. I think that was one of the highlights of my cinema going experiences, where you see both of them walking out, the three of them fighting together, the three of them swinging together, and see all the incredible villains from all these Spider-Man movies coming together. So I think the fact that we are hoping to see more of them, all the three people who've essayed Spider-Man, and you had such great Spider-Man movies in the form of Spider-Man, Beyond the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse, and I think there's so many great Spider-Man movies, and everyone might be having their own favorites, but these particular Spider-Man movies, which are the Sam Raimi trilogy movies, hold a special place in my heart, and this is why this episode is just a love letter to those movies. And for the new Gen Z that has not watched them, I would really urge you to go and watch them. You have enough great Spider-Man movies in the Garfield and the Tom Holland movies, but please do go and give them a try. So that's it from me today. I would want to hear from you about what superhero trilogy or what movie trilogy that you would want us to cover in Binge Watch, and do comment down what's your favorite moment, your favorite character in the comment section. We are watching out, we read all your comments, and thank you so much for watching. My name is Bhaarat, and I'll see you in the next episode of Binge Watch. From me, Bhaarat and Dio, it's out.
One world, your station.